cultivated self in Confucianism is actually also known as a substitute self. Kanang mas giuna nimo ang personal needs sa uban kaysa para sa imong kaugalingon. Taoism. Taoism is living in the way of Tao or universe. Ideal self-balance life with society and nature. Taoism is one definition. What the Tao is actually, ang gusto sa Tao is a simple life. Buddhism is self-illusion born out of ignorance, source of all this suffering. Aims to attain the states of nirvana. Buddhism is actually to achieve of nirvana. So, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry.
Pwede i-continue na ako sa akong kauban diri same ra Japon sa akong cellphone, ma'am, kay murag same ra maming duhag place.
Sige, okay ra. Nag-share ang device?
Oh, yes, ma'am. GP. Now let's move on to Western philosophy by reporting by GP Bulahan. Oh.
Good morning, ma'am. So, Eastern philosophies. So, in the Western philosophy, do not include the role of environment and society. So, wala sila include sa mga ilahang palibot, ilahang pamaagi dito. So, focus is always looking toward the self. Sa ilahang pamaagi, focus sila sa ilaharang self. Sa ilahang para makafocus sila sa ilahang self. So, look at the world in dualities. First, you are the distinct from the other person. Two, creator is separate from the object he created. Besides more on the value of quality. So let's move on in Western philosophies and Eastern philosophies comparison. So in Western, they have individualism. In Eastern philosophies is collectivism. So in Western philosophies, individualism, school of thought from the Greek philosophy. And in collectivism, based mainly in Asia, more specifically the Chinese philosophy. Individualism take its roots from Rome and Christianity or Latin. So in individualism, kakuha sila og idea dito sa kagikan dito sa Rome ug sa Christianity. So in collectivism, take its roots from Confucianism, classical Chinese. So ilalai ra po dito sa collectivism kay kakuan sila sa mga Chinese. main principle self dedication, and collectivism main principle unity. Focus on ethics, and in collectivism thrives on virtues. Mara to, ma'am.
Also, Eastern thoughts. Ano na eh?
Naapa ko, ma'am.
Sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, ma'am. Chapter 3 pa man na, ma'am.
Yeah.
So na dra, ma'am?
As I've said, ato yung sundon ang pasunod sa book. Kaya ang coverage po sa inyong exam, nag-base ra po sa pasunod sa book.
Thank you.
You're not supposed to report. So, mana mo sa Eastern and Western thoughts, mara to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a question for the reporter. So, based on your report, what do you think would be the difference between the Eastern thoughts and the Western thoughts? Anyone from the group can answer that? It's actually on the report. So I'm just thinking if you really understand what you did, tell us. So what do you think? JP or Aljen?
Hello.
So what could be the difference between the Eastern thoughts and the Western thoughts?
Hello.
Obra kaayo mo.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. So, ang difference sa Western o Eastern thoughts kay ang ilang pamagi sa kinabuhi nila, ma'am.
Yeah, what pamaagi? What kind of pamaagi?
Sa kuan nila kanang sa Western kay the way sila nga kuan makihalubilo sa tao kay dili sila kuan dili sila selfish like dili pareha sa Eastern. Ang unang kanang upan kay sa kuan ilang kagalingon dili pareha sa Eastern nga ilarang i-priority ra nila ilang kagalingon kaysa upan dili sila kabalo mo una sa upan.
Basically, the Western thoughts, they are individualistic. Ngayon, mo ba itong compare na, remember? Can you present again your PowerPoint presentation for the Eastern thoughts and Western thoughts? PowerPoint, I will do this now. Okay. So, the lesson for today, balik sa first ka na. Okay. The lesson for today, we will highlight the Eastern thought since our previous lessons were Western theories. We were able to discuss Western theories, so we will focus more on the Eastern thoughts today. So, as mentioned by the reporters, when we talk about the Eastern thoughts, what comes into our mind would be Asia, okay? And the Western thoughts would be Europe and Northern America. So, that's our tilimanan when we talk about the Eastern and the Western thoughts. So, in the Western thoughts, balik sa ta dito sa pikas. No, balik sa first slide. I'll just say to you if what. Okay. So Western thoughts, they conduct scientific investigation and the effort to understand the self. So they are more research-based, scientific. Now the highlight there would be scientific investigation when we talk about the Eastern thoughts. And they develop theories and difference among them through scientific investigation. So they emphasize sa East to West. So they emphasize the importance of scientific methods of investigation to provide satisfactory answers to understanding the self. So, sa Western thoughts, they would emphasize on the individualistic rather than relational. Okay? Individualistic, see, Western thought. What about Eastern thought? So they raise questions about the ultimate meaning of human life and develop theories of the self as they have investigated what means to be a human being. So, ang emphasis sa Eastern thoughts is relational rather than individual. Diba? Western thoughts, individualistic. Eastern thoughts, relational rather than individual. So, the self is considered not in isolation in the Eastern thoughts, no, but in relation to others, no? Society and the universe. So, relational good see Eastern thoughts. And Eastern thought theories are highly practical. They are not scientific, but practical. So, they do not utilize the scientific techniques in the investigation. Eastern thoughts. They offer a variety of techniques for cultivating a deeper understanding of the self. So, when we talk about the Eastern philosophies, this would actually evolve around three philosophers. Can we show that? Confucianism? Okay, as I've said, there are three. The Eastern thoughts revolves around the three philosophies, religion, it would be Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. So let's talk first about Confucianism. So Confucianism Confucianism is system of thoughts and behavior originating in ancient China. So it starts with in China. So it is a religion but could be seen as a code of ethical conduct, and it is focused on having a harmonious social life. So it's a religion, but it can also see it as a code of ethical conduct. So the ultimate purpose of Confucianism, according to Confucianism, is purpose of life is self-cultivation. So self-cultivation, it could be accomplished by knowing one's role in the society and accordingly. Okay? Let's proceed to Taoism. That's not Taoism, it's Taoism, ha? Taoism. Taoism.
Taoism.
Okay. So, Taoism also originated from China and is attributed to Lao Tzu. Okay. The self, according to Taoism, is in an extension of the cosmos, not social relationships. So, extension ang self of the cosmos. Cosmos, the universe, stars, nga na. So, the self is described as one limitless forms of the Tao. That's according to Taoism. So, Taoism is commonly regarded as nature that is foundation of all that exists. So, the perfect man, according to Taoism, has no self, and the selfless person leads to a balanced life and in harmony with both nature and society. So, the ideal self for Taoism is a balanced life with society and nature. Okay? Let's proceed to Buddhism. Okay, to Buddhism, it comes from the word Bud, meaning awake. B-U-D-H. It is founded by Siddhartha Gautama, known as Buddha. Okay? So Buddhism, according to Buddhism, there are 5 parts that compose the individual. That would be matter, sensation, perception, mental constructs, and consciousness. Again, the Buddhism is composed of, the Buddhism believes that there are 5 parts that compose the individual. That would be matter, sensation, perception, mental constructs, and consciousness. Okay. According to Buddhism, man is just the title for the summation of 5 parts that compose the individual. Summation daw ang man with the 5 parts that I have mentioned earlier. So Buddhism also, there is no self or there is no soul. There is only nothing, and all of this is an illusion. The Buddhism also believe that there is nothing permanent but change. Okay. Sa Buddhism, ang ideal is to experience nirvana. What is nirvana? Nirvana is a state of transcendence devoid of self-reference. So, as nirvana is a state of transcendence devoid of self-reference. So, under nirvana, wala kay self-concept. Under Buddhism, there is no self. How do you achieve nirvana? So, this state of transcendence can be achieved through meditation. So, what have you noticed? The Eastern thoughts, they are more focused on religion. But as I've mentioned, they are relational. They are more on faith rather than scientific. Kaya nga, they are focused on 3 religion. The Buddhist Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. So, the Eastern thought, they are more on scientific investigation. Diba? Socrates, Plato, they are more on scholasticism, rationalism, empiricism, and phenomenology. So let's compare the Eastern thoughts and the Western thoughts. So ang frame of reference ng Western thoughts is that there is separation between philosophy and religion, while Eastern thoughts, religion and philosophy are intertwined. Okay. Sa belief system, so as I've mentioned, Western thoughts were focused on scholasticism, rationalism, empiricism, phenomenology, while the Eastern thoughts, they are belief system nila is Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. What about the source of knowledge? The Western thought has made use of reasoning rather than faith to pursue wisdom. What what about the Eastern thoughts? No, it has trusted intuition and is often associated with religious beliefs. Who are the notable philosophers? It's Socrates, sa Western Socrates, Plato, and Rene Descartes. Well, sa Eastern, Confucius, Lao Tzu, and Siddhartha Gautama. Modes of cognition, they are analytic and deductive ang Western, while the Eastern would be synthetic and inductive. Ang emphasis nila is, ang difference sa emphasis is that ang Western, they are more on distinctions and opposition. Diba? They are individualistic, so they are more focused on distinctions, ang kalahi-lahian. And for the Eastern thoughts, they are more on commonalities and harmonies. Diba? Kinahanglan with one with the nature, when we should have a good relationship with the society. Diba? More on commonalities and harmonies, the Eastern thoughts. The view of the self. We all know the realistic to Western thought, so he is egocentric, focused on the individual. What about the Eastern thought? It is collectivist, so it's social-centric. What about the view of universe and life? The Western thoughts would be linear. What do we mean by linear? Diba mostly if mga Westerners, they believe in one creator and then life and death. Alright. While our thoughts in the East, especially sa Asia, we are circular. Circular atong view of universe and life. Diba? We believe naaman tayo mga dun sa Eastern thoughts after we were born, die, and then we reincarnate. Circular siya. At mabuhi, mamatay, then reincarnate. Mabuhi, mamatay. Whereas sa Western, mabuhi, mamatay, wala na. Ano sa Eastern, mabuhi, mamatay, ma-reincarnate. Diba? Do you have that belief sa, if you know this, araling panlipunan sa una? Okay? So, view of life, so Western thoughts, they are linear, while the Eastern thought is circular. What about theological view? The Western thoughts is monotheistic. They believe in one creator. And sa Eastern thought, common view ang polytheistic. Dagan kayong Diyos, dagan kayong pagan God. But that's common in our Asia. The ideals. What are the ideals of the Western thought? The self-actualization through personal growth. Actually, in the book, if you have read, there was a comparison of how people from the Western countries and the Eastern countries treat their bosses. So, dito sa America, West, they call them, they treat or they think their boss as their equal. So, there is a respect, but they are more on like thinking there is, while in Eastern thoughts, we think our bosses are like higher than us and we give so much respect to them. So sa Western thoughts, they are more on personal growth and individual good. So about the Eastern thoughts, ilang ideas is to achieve a balanced life and find one's role in the society. Cultural framework, sa PowerPoint nila, individualism, and ang Western thoughts or the Western philosophies, while the Eastern thoughts, the Eastern philosophies, more on collectivism. In the case of the Philippines, we can also consider the colonization experience for the differences and similarities with our Asian neighbors. So, we were colonized by the Western countries, so it cannot be denied that there are also influences that they have upon us. While we were also colonized by the Eastern countries like Japan. And then we are geographically we are in the Asia, so there are really influences also. So mixed Philippines, no? Though we might also find variation among our provinces and regions due to geographical conditions. Whereas conflict is inevitable in diversity, so naman yung mga conflict in the diversity, kalala in the beliefs, lailay taong orientation. Peace is also possible through understanding of which we are coming from. Okay, so that would be the end for the Western and Eastern thoughts. So, di maniragin ninyo nga ang Western, they are individualistic, scientifically inclined, while the Eastern is religion and philosophies are intertwined. And collectivism, more relational. Shall we proceed to the physical and sexual self?
Online. Oh, report pa lang sila. Ako niya. Ikaw ako lang diba ho ang cellphone. Oo. I-report to ba yan? I-report naman niya.
By the way, we will have a short quiz right after I will be able to meet all the batches of BS1 and BS2. I'll send it through Messenger or probably sa Google Classroom since we will not use Edmodo anymore.
Ibalik naman. Ma'am, magaling to. So, size Indian muli. Sinama. Ikaw, kung palitan niya muli na palitan niya paso. Saan na doon mayroon? Baboy na. Kung iyahang mga itik. Ano siya? Bibi? Ewan ko siya bibi. Itik. Ayan, may itik po niya diyan. Tagal ni mama. Magani. Magani pa pa. Dahil ka ng kuan po. Dagan excited na matutong pilit ang pananong mo diha. Si pagpapay naman ang iso. Pwede ang labo nga ko. Sina mo ko na sila ng kita diha. Sa una, di ba itong okay pa nga. Huwag patunay tambok ng pagkabuang gali. Kuan, mana anas pa ng kita di sa balayaw kay mga to dyan. Kuan ni Rolo o yatas. Kuan na ni, muang mo pa na. Kuan, iniro na to diha. Kaya mga saging ang usay talabon niya sa gara sagingin na niya kay si mama tigbilin ba tigbilin mo ang uwi as mama din niya karon kay pagkabuang niya daw siyang bana wala na ingon na lang mo ana sa nang pita din.
Shall we start?
Di na siya magiling so una pa magiling ba na siya naga mahiling na siya diha yung mga saging niya matagaan niya dito usay mong dawan yung pita saging dito
Good morning, everyone. Wait lang kay
naging kayo sa amin mga diha sa mga pilit o pagdaway. Namunga lang ko. Ito mga pilit-pilit hindi ba namunga. Sa ay, hindi na madalang tao. Kung dos balay, baka rin ito magklubi ng madami klubi. Sige, ang nakuha ang ilang kuhaan lahin kay ilang i-kuhan dito, gata. Nalagang mo ng pita, anong bali? Ano ang sinag-
Wait lang, ma'am, kay nawala ko connection.
Tagalog, umano kay birthday ko naman, kuha.
Physical and sexual need to things terms that are really that you might be portable as part of the lesson. About it. It's rampant in our society right now. Early teenage pregnancy, age in primer, just be open-minded about the lesson that you have about the physical entrance. You will be about the sexually transmitted diseases and how to prevent and avoid that. It would be a bigger problem if
Una yun na maglamig.
okay. Okay na, ready na ba?
Ma'am, pwede na naman mong videoan kay na lost connection lang po. Gamit ramig another phone.
Sige, okay.
Hindi ma'am. I-videoan na. Ari raming kuan, civilian.
Let's screen again.
Yes, ma'am, gausara mo. Kapaday. Okay, good morning everyone. This is chapter 2. Unpacking the cell. Lesson 1, the physical and sexual cell. Introduction. It has been believed that the sex chromosomes of humans define the sex are female or male, and their standard sexual characteristics. From childhood, we are controlled by our genetic makeup. It influences the way we treat ourselves and others. However, there are individuals who do not accept their innate sexual characteristics and they tend to change their sexual organs through medications and surgery. Aside from our genes, our society or the external environment help shape ourselves. This lesson helps us better understand ourselves through a discussion on the development of our sexual characteristics and behavior. So, example, ani, kanang gay ka, nya nagpa-transgender ka, kay tungod dili ka ganahan or lahan ra ka mo change sa imuhang gender. Next. Construction. Marie according to Marie 2001, explains that the gonads or reproductive glands that produce the gametes, testes or ovary, begin to form until about the 8th week of embryonic development. He also said during the early stages of human development, the embryonic reproductive structures of males and females are alike and are said to be in the indifferent state. In intervention with the normal pattern of sex hormone production in the embryo results in strange abnormalities. For instance, a genetic male develops the female accessory structures and external genitalia if the embryonic testes fail to produce testosterone. As a result, pseudohermaphrodites are formed who are individuals having accessory reproductive structures that do not match their gonads, while true hermaphrodites are individuals who possess both ovarian and testicular tissues, but this condition is rare in nature.
Kasi kanya na ini ko sa madawa. Asi-asi mo.
Nakita ra guys?
Siras abing na rin. 11.
Wala. Wala nakita.
Wala may nakita.
Wala kami kita.
Wait
Ako yung
for
screen.
PowerPoint.
Screen.
Example of reproductive system. This is a male reproductive and the female reproductive system.
You said na ako, okay, sa messenger in PowerPoint. Ako messenger.
Ma'am?
You sa ako inyong PowerPoint.
Karon na
Tara ako
ma'am?
messenger.
Oh, sige ma'am.
Yeah, tara na ay visual sa makita imong classmate.
Sige ma'am. Oh, Ito?
Ayaw mo dikit.
Ma'am Rada? It's not like me.
So, by the way, you need turn pohon sa ang highest sa exam would be exempted on the pre-finals. So, makalimot ko. Innocent.
Sinding pa, ma'am. Wala pa. Ma'am, kami na lang mo-continue kanibalik na ako. Okay na, ma'am? Sige. Continue ra na ako, ma'am. Sige. Sige. A critical event for the development of the reproductive organs takes place about a month before birth, wherein the male testes form in the abdominal cavity and approximately the same location as female ovaries. Descend to enter the scrotum. If this normal event fails, it may lead to cryptorchidism. This condition usually occurs in young males and causes sterility, or which is also risk factor for cancer of the testes. That is why surgery performed during childhood to solve that problem. Moreover, abnormal separation of chromosomes during meiosis can lead to congenital defects of the reproductive system. Other abnormalities result when a child has only one sex chromosome. An XO female appears normal but lacks ovaries. YO males die during development. Other much less serious conditions also affect males primary, such as phimosis, which is due to narrowing of the foreskin of the male reproductive structure and misplaced urethral openings. Puberty is the period of life, generally between the ages of 10 to 15 years old, when the reproductive organs grow to their adult size and become functional under the influence of rising levels of gonadal hormones or testosterone in males and estrogen in females. The changes that occur during puberty is similar in sequence in all individuals, but the age which they occur differs among individuals. In males, as they reach the age of 13, puberty is characterized by the increase in the size of the reproductive organs, followed by the appearance of menstrual period of females, which happens 2 years after the start of puberty. Hormones play an important role in the regulation of ovulation and fertility of females. Diseases associated with the reproductive system. Infections are the most common problems associated with the reproductive system in adults. Vaginal infections are more common in young and elderly women and in those whose resistance to disease is low. The usual infections include those caused by Escherichia coli, which spread through the digestive tract. The sexually transmitted microorganisms such as syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes virus and are a type of fungus. In males, the most common inflammatory conditions are prostatitis, urethritis, and epididymitis, all of which may follow sexual contacts in which sexually transmitted disease or STD microorganisms are transmitted. Orchiditis or inflammation of the testes is rather uncommon, but it is serious because it can cause sterility. Orchiditis most commonly follows mumps in an adult male. Erogenous zone. Erogenous zones refer to parts of the body and the primary reproductive when touched in a sexual manner. Some of the commonly known erogenous zones are the mouth, breast, genitals, and anus. Erogenous zones may vary from one person to another. Some people may enjoy being touched in a certain area than the other areas. Other common areas of the body that can be aroused easily may include the neck, thighs, abdomen, and feet. Human sexual behavior.
Okay, let's start about human sexual behavior. But before I start, naingon naman to ni mga please be open-minded of each one of us, no, to indicate their this topic. Dili na ta ignorante pa for this topic because it is relevant nowadays. So let's start about human sexual behavior. So what is human sexual behavior? No? Human sexual behavior is defined as any activity. But later on, maka-identify na mo kung what I mean nga activity jud nga ang akong ipasabot. So solidarity between two persons in a group that induce sexual arousal. So means ka-involved siya sa tawo nga pwede usa between two persons or in a certain group that induce sexual arousal. So what is sexual arousal? So depends of my research, sexual arousal is known as sexual excitement that describe the physiological, psychological response and preparation for sexual intercourse or when exposed to stimuli. So, gi-explain na ako what is the sex arousal. So, there are two major factors that determine human sexual behavior. So, we have a different style that makadetermine ta sa human sexual behavior. So, the number one is the inherited sexual response pattern that have evolved as a means of ensuring reproduction and that become part of each individual's genetic inheritance. So, let's proceed to the number two, and the degree of restraint or other type of influence behavior. So let's proceed. So now, let's proceed at the types of behavior. So muna ni akong giingon ninyo nga dili na ta maka-identify og activity jud nga unsa legit gipasabot. So, the various type of human behavior is usually classified according to the gender of the number of the participants. So, it's kanang gakuan ni siya sa gender, sa what gender siya or ang evolved ani nga participant sa activity. So, we have types of behavior. Is the number one is the solitary behavior, and the number two is the sociosexual behavior. So let's proceed to the number one is solitary behavior. Solitary behavior. So it's come to solitary behavior involving only one person. So it's meant only one person lang ang evolved ani nga usa ka tawo means self-gratification. So self-gratification, it is, do you familiar about kanang masturbation? That I know that it is very common about among young males than females. So self-gratification means it's self-stimulation that leads to sexual arousal and generally sexual climax. So, ang self-gratification is maka-release jud or maka-make jud siya o kanang sexual climax because they are gratified their own self. So, usually, most self-gratification is only take in private as in end itself. So, alangan man no kung mo kaan ka, kanang mubuhat ka into the public. So, it's into a public. So, it's a private lang jud. No, nga mahimo ning self-gratification. Katong akong giingon kanina is kanang very common among young males kay it's begin na siya before of the poverty. So gasugod na siya mo ng very common of young male or male nga may perform act of self-gratification than females. No? But we cannot deny that majority of males and females have fantasies of sociosexual activity. No? We cannot deny that ang girls would appeal sa solitary behavior because we have different kanang ay naatay own fantasies. Like especially ito nga sige garit o kanang Wattpad, sige watch og video or even because we have we have a different ideal boy or ideal girl. Like ang boy is the ideal siya of the sexy girl nga makakuan siya maka-make siya solitary behavior or ang girl kakuan siya og a good muscle sa iyang ideal boy. So but it's kanang but remember dili lang pod nga kanang it's means solitary behavior is kanang natural lang nga mo akta ani because we have a body, we have our own body or we have some part of body that needs it. No? Kay matutapod nila is self-gratification is kanang mo po ni siya amoy self-controlling. Especially nga dili pa ka-ready nga mo proceed to the premarital sex na jud katong kuan na jud no mo nang mo gratify ka sa imong mga kaugalingon. So let's proceed to the number 2 which is sociosexual behavior. So sociosexual behavior is the involved siya of more than one person. So lahi ra jud sa solitary behavior no kay ang kani ikaduha kay ka-involved man siya og kanang more than one person niya. It's generally divided pod ni siya into heterosexual behavior and homosexual behavior. So heterosexual behavior means male with female, lalaki to babae. And homosexual behavior, it is male with male or female with female. So heterosexual behavior, kaning heterosexual behavior mo ang dakuan diri sa sociosexual behavior nganong kani siya mo gikuan ang male and one male and one female kay mo ni siya ang mostly common. kani siya is heterosexual behavior is the greatest amount of social sexual behavior that occurs between one female and one female. So, ga-involved ani ang fitting ay ga-involved ani ang physical contact involving making or fitting is considered as an ingredient of learning process and eventually of courtship and the selection of the married partner. Nga mostly ginabuhat kani sa mga married partner. So fitting is different from hugging. So kissing, from hugging, kissing, and general caress of the whole body to the practice involving stimulation of the genitals. No, ang fitting is different lang from hugging or katunga kissing. Fitting may be done as an expression of affection and a source of pleasure or preliminary to coitus. So, gapuan siya o kanang source of pleasures nga maka-express o preliminary coitus. So, what is coitus? So, coitus is the insertion of the male reproductive structure into the female reproductive organ. So, no need na kayo na ko niya nga i-explain. You know na, nakakuan na mo na. So, but, katong akong gikuan ganiya, we have a different marital status of the individual. So, number 1 is the premarital coitus. The ikadua is the marital coitus of the extramarital coitus, and the last is the postmarital coitus. So, when it comes to the premarital coitus, it is kanang mostly sa Western society, muna siya mo itolerate pag-encourage sa individual na dili jud sila mukuan og kanang marriage. But it comes to marital coitus, it is considered as an obligation na jud. So, an extramarital coitus is involving what is generally condemned and permitted is allowed under exceptional condition or specified person only. So, to the postmarital coitus, muna siya og katong mga na-separate or divorced or the window person. Na siya. Motor siya mo'y the different marital status of the individual. So, it's come na po, but remember, we have a different interpreted of individuals. No, kay sometimes no kay kanang nayuban nga ga instant ra nga ang case unya na ang case is may be interpret as a gesture of expression or intimacy between couple with others lang, while ang uban it is ano ni siya ga symbol of kanang respect. So mula to yung let's proceed to the psychology of human sexual response. So, mo ni siya mga follow-up pattern nga gapis of sexual activity is continue. When katong solitary behavior and sexual behavior, it's kanang mo continuous, kanang inig, kaning activity is mo continue. Mo ni kapasabot sa physiology of human sexual response. So, let's proceed to the number 1. It is excitement based. It is caused by increased impulse and blood pressures, a sudden rise in the blood supply to the surface of the body, resulting in increased skin temperature, flushing, and swelling of all insensible body parts, more rapid breath, destruction of genital fluids, or